Another person that's also kind of working out in the field, being around refugees and helping, is Ghebreghiorghis. He is with us. Here you are. Okay. From Eritrea. Yeah, if you come up here, we're going to do this a little, actually similar than we did with Alex Schneider, but live. You are a prevention worker and intercultural translator at the Fachstelle für sexuelle Gesundheit, sexual health in Zurich. You take care of a different group than Alex Schneider. You mainly take care of people from Africa or the Arab world. So when you heard what he was telling us, what's the difference? What a different experience or let's say problems do they have compared to the people from Ukraine?
Well, actually, the thing that we do has not only to do with Arabs and with Africans, all migrants, particularly migrants who are vulnerable. We should have to differentiate also between migrants. There are vulnerable ones. Vulnerable means those individuals who have a problem of access, either due to their own problem or due to the problem which exists with the system. So what we do by the Sexuelle Gesundheit Zurich is we try to see all migrants who are vulnerable. It doesn't matter whether they are from Africa, from Asia, or from Europe or East Europe. So I don't see that much difference between what he said, because he focuses on the deficiency of knowledge, and that exists also within almost all migrants. That's a very important thing. I've heard also in the lecture before that the main problem of thing which has to do with hepatitis is mainly focused on the lack of information. Prevention means lack of, we should have to work more on knowledge, more on information. He has brought, the one who was presenting here, an issue from Africa, for example. Even within the people who are working at the health center, they do have this deficiency of information. And then that's the thing that we see also here in Switzerland. So what we do is we see all migrants as a whole, not particular place.
Yes, okay. But I guess the problem starts with language barrier, no? And how, you know, every group has not a language, and you don't have always a translator with you, or in places where they arrive or where they will be seen. So what can we do there? What can you do there?
Well, it has not only to do also with language problem or barrier. There are a lot of other issues, and then they are also different to different particular groups. For example, in case of migrants from Africa generally, when we try to compare with Ukrainian migrant here in Switzerland, maybe the issue of Aufenthaltsbewilligung or permission paper could be meaningless for an individual from Ukraine, because they automatically get a permission, and then they do have also access to the health system. But if we see someone from Africa, they set priority, because the Aufenthaltsbewilligung or the permission paper is one issue which is very important to him or to her. They want to settle first this issue instead of searching for testing or for information regarding hepatitis. So you see, the barriers or the hindrances they are different.
Yeah, I see that.
But they do have also homogeneity. There are common barriers or problems which exist among migrants.
That would mean, if I understand right, that you can't really address the health issue with them before their status is kind of, they have an idea what's going to happen with their status.
Yeah.
And how is that a problem? Does it take a lot of time that actually health issues should be addressed during that time, or how does that cause a problem?
As you have already mentioned it, I go to fields also because I coordinate the work of prevention and migration within the Sexuelle Gesundheit Zurich. So when we go to the field and then when we meet people, if we tell them about sexual transmitted infections, for example, which hepatitis is one of them, then they don't give us, they say, okay, do you have this facility, for example, in case if somebody is ill, or if somebody is infected with HIV or sexual transmitted infections, do you have the facility? Do we have other assurances, for example, in case if somebody is ill, where shall he go?
Because they don't want to say that they affected themselves. Do I understand you right?
No, they said also priority, as I've said, permission paper, for example, because, you know, if someone is infected and if he has no permission paper to stay here, maybe this could hinder also from obtaining permission paper. Maybe the Swiss,
that's what they worry.
Yes, the Swiss authority, maybe they say he's coming to us with his problems. So he's adding a problem to a problem, and then he's not going to get the permission paper. So this is the imagination that they have. So they set priority. Job, for example, is the most important thing, because they do have people, they do have a family to support at their homeland. And then the thing that they want to do is just to get the permission paper, work, and then as a third or fourth priority, maybe check up or checking or testing for infections.
So it's really kind of low on their priority list. And I can see that that's a problem. Alex Schneider talked about stigma, you know, about how difficult it is to talk within the group, within the family about this, and to kind of have a come out, you know, and say yes. How do you experience that? What do you observe?
Well, actually, there are of two kinds. Stigma within community, and then stigma also within the society. When I say within the society, if they go, for example, with their infection to a doctor or somebody, they might think that they are going to be stigmatized. There's a shame that they feel, because most of the time, particularly the sexual transmitted infections, which hepatitis is one of them, is because they are associated with going, for example, outside your marriage, or going or prostituting on and other things. So they think that act is not okay, that's not good, and then it brings shame to them. That is within the whole society. But the most important one is the one which exists within the community, because the community doesn't want to share anything with them. They stigmatize them. They are expelled. So instead of talking about their infection, about their problem, or for example, I want to test because I have done or have taken a risk, instead of saying that one, they try to do it secretly, which most of the time takes time, and then they will be like late presenters, or they don't test at all. Exactly. So then stigma which exists within a community is the most strong one. It goes beyond the place that they live, and then it goes or transfers to their homeland. Even the family, who are the family of the infected person or the one who is in concern, they might be stigmatized because of the
you
infection.
mean of refugees or migrants that come over here, their community at their homeland are still stigmatizing them?
The family of him, for example,
yes.
because the information is going to go there, and then the neighbors, for example, they might stigmatize the family. Okay, they have somebody who is HIV positive, they have somebody who is also infected with some kind of sexual transmitted infection.
If I understand you right, that means that makes it really, really difficult, because it's not enough to talk here with these people and kind of give them information and help them to understand and maybe have another view. It only helps partially, because they still have their community at home that isn't as informed. Well, I see that right?
Yes, the stigma is a problem. The problem with the stigma is because the assumption with HIV, for example, or sexual transmitted infection, it was supposed that they don't have any treatment. If somebody is infected, then it's infected forever. And then they come, as I've said before, through misconduct, for example, which doesn't correspond to the rules or to the social norms of the community or society. So the issue issue to tackle this problem has to do with the knowledge. They should have to get enough knowledge. For example, hepatitis, most of the time, well, actually it differs according to the migrant group. In some Africa part, for example, they consider hepatitis as an infection of labor, but caused by alcohol only. They don't consider that hepatitis could be also transferable or could be caused by viruses or by other issues. I know some HIV positive and then also who have also hepatitis, for example, or co-infected with both of them. So these people, they think that hepatitis comes only from drinking alcohol. It's not a viral infection. I don't mean that that's such kind of knowledge exists or it's the same all over the spectrum of the migrants, but in particular groups, there is such kind of information. So in order to tackle such kind of a problem, there should be an effective prevention work. As the guy was saying, prevention is the main important thing because it brings people to testing. If they have full information, then they can go to testing. But the prevention should not focus only on vaccination, but knowledge also, because there is a lack of knowledge.
Right. Yeah, we have heard that today from different people now, how important knowledge is actually. And in our, we talked beforehand together, you mentioned some events that you're organizing. And so if you could maybe tell us a little bit, what are you guys doing? What can you do to reach these people and to spread the knowledge?
Yeah, as the work that we are doing in Zurich it has been since almost more than 10 years now. And then we have been trying this prevention work through different types of, to approach it through different methods. And then at the beginning, we had a lot of pamphlets, a lot of things which were written, medical texts in different languages, but this doesn't help that much. Okay, there are people who read that one, which is interesting,
but not that
but
many.
it's not as huge as it's desired. So we saw other methods, for example, like culturally appropriated method. I mean, culture, not in culture, community culture sense, but where do they go, the people? What's their activity? What attracts them? What type of social activities they attract them? Is it possible to combine the information or the message of sexual transmitted infections or hepatitis together with this methods? For example, as I've said last time, we talked about it. Football, for example, is a good means of approaching people. Well, actually, the idea behind the football tournament, for example, is not football per se, but to use as an instrument because it attracts the people, and then they will also consume the other information of Botschaft which exists there.
Right.
Then through this information, they might eliminate partially the knowledge, the lack of knowledge that they have. And then they might see also people, for example, if it is possible, mobile testing, for example, if it's possible to organize on the place, particularly.
Have you done that?
Yes, yes.
Mobile testing on a football game.
Football game,
right?
Mobile testing, have we done that one?
And what are you doing with the women?
With the women. We do also see other activities like, for example, beauty contests that attracts also the women. Well, actually, it's not only for women, but for men also, because they can participate as a designer, as a model and other things. So the people, they focus on such activities. At the same time, we can also have an access to these people because they come in mass, and then one can organize testing, vaccination, or whatever. It would be palatable, it could be digested, because if somebody talks only about medical stuff, if he says, for example, hepatitis kills if you don't treat it, then this brings an angst. And then instead of doing that one, see, there's a way to tackle the problem.
That sounds really like a good way to do it.
And then the most important thing is also to work with people from the community. We do have like 14, 15 people from the community, from different people, even from Ukraine. We do have people who are working with us. We do have a lesser problem to access the community. Well, actually, have we reached the goal that we want, to the maximum goal? Or? No, but there is a hope that we can do some kind of an effective work.
Very good. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, time is very short. I could talk with you whole afternoon, but we need to go on. But thank you so much for
You're
coming. I
welcome.
think that was really great. Thank you.
You're welcome.